Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group guide to the Marvel Comics of the week. I am Phil Parrish, joined by...
Charlie, yes, sir.
Alright, Charlie, we got the same amount of books this week, so what did you get this week?
Okay, well, I'm going to start off with New Avengers. Not all new, all different, because that's later, but this is just the new. These are the new, but the same Avengers, I guess, is the idea. They're not all new, they're just new, but then there's also the different ones, and, you know. Anyway, so this is our gang, and we're opening up with, her name is Angela Del Toro. That is, Ava Torres's aunt, I believe. I believe she was the sister of the original White Tiger, or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure their exact familial relationship, but I believe she is her aunt. I believe she is the sister of the original White Tiger. And she was a White Tiger for a brief bit. She died. She got brought back by the Hand and is all evil now. But she doesn't have any powers because she doesn't have the White Tiger amulet, which, of course, was confiscated when she was arrested. That's an issue that's going to come up next week with the New Avengers, where I don't even want to understand how that starts, and I may not even pick it up because of it. But we'll get to that maybe in Super Connectivity. I don't know if I know you don't read the previews, but the preview for next Uncanny Avengers, it opens with just a weird thing. Anyway, moving right along. So, Angela is all locked up. She's got the straitjacket on, the little Hannibal Lecter mask, and sure, why not? And there's a doctor there who's talking to the orderly. They're talking about the case, and then the doctor said, and the orderly says, I can't quite understand where your accent's from. And he says, originally, says out of state, and he zaps the guy with a crazy old laser gun, and it turns out it's the Maker. Says he's the head of Whisper, which is, AIM if AIM was more fun, or if AIM was fun anymore. And then Angela is like, I only serve the hand. He says, yes, that's just fine, but I think that sometimes you can serve the hand by serving ourselves. And he has a tiger amulet from another dimension, and he's going to give it to her, which will give her access to the Tiger God. Meanwhile, Power Man and White Tiger are having gelato in Trevi in Rome, and Ava's saying this is a date. Power Man is saying it's not. And then in walks Angela, and as you may recall, Power Man gets his power from focusing the chi in any city to himself. But Angela says the Hand has been in every city throughout the world, and we can turn off your chi, and so she does, and then kicks him and knocks him out. Then the two White Tigers fight, and basically what happens is the two Tiger Gods basically realize that that they can do more killing of people together, and of course Ava essentially put the Tiger God on a leash, and Tiger God says to heck with that and joins up with Evil Tiger God, and then they disappear. Because, of course, that was because, as the Maker says, he knew she wasn't going to kill Ava because, familial things. And basically, Angela says, yes, well, there was no need to. I had her power, and she knows to be scared. And the Hand says, I can now work with you, Maker. And he says, great, meet the new Avengers. And looks like we've got Vermin. I think that's Angar the Screamer, some Skrull dude, some guy with a inverted face, and some big yellow glowy mask whom I don't recognize either. But I recognize Angar. I believe that's Angar, and I do recognize absolutely Vermin, who is classic Spider-Man villain. Anyway, thumbs up, fun book, good battle, and just generally delightful. As a villain, the Maker is great, and lacking a Reed Richards villain is pretty good, especially since we have a good guy, Dr. Doom, which maybe we can get to later. What was your first book this week, Phil?
I'll go with All New X-Men #5. picks up from last issue with Blob basically wiping Wolverine's blood off his hands. All new Wolverine. Angel's. You
forget about the healing factor?
Well, it kicks in eventually, but Blob's basically ready to take on young Angel, but he's like, forget it, I'll eat somewhere else. And Angel's all freaked out because he's like, you're dead. Anyone else would be dead. He's like, this is what dead looks like. And then, meanwhile, out on the street, young Beast is walking around, but then he runs into Blob, and Blob's just like, will you teeny bopper X-Men just let me bleep and eat?
You know what's funny about this is that when the first time they battled, it was actually Angel who defeats the Blob because they realize that if you separate him from the ground, his powers are essentially null and void. So I'm surprised that Angel didn't remember that and just fly up and grab the guy and fly him up and drop him.
You would think, but
well, continuity not important to Marvel right now.
But then the Cyclops is he wanders into an alley and there's somebody in there, but they don't say who. I guess I don't know if somebody's been watching them. Then of course Blob and Beast come breaking through, so Cyclops goes to help. Meanwhile, back in the restaurant, Angel's sitting there with Wolverine, and the healing factor comes in, and you just hear all these sound effects as her bones and everything start healing and mending. It's just like quick snap. And he's like, Angel's ready to get sick.
She's lucky they heal right, I mean, you could always have them, kind of heal crooked if she's not careful. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. And then they show Iceman kind of being uncomfortable, picking up a cashier guy in one of the stores. He's still not comfortable being so out. And it's like every time they show a different scene, Blob just comes crashing through, so everyone else keeps going after him. Then at the
This is old Iceman or young Iceman?
No, these are all the young guys, yeah. Because they're all in Paris. So the battle's raging on with everyone except for Angel and Wolverine. And then at the end, Wolverine wakes up. She's like, what happened? She's like, oh yeah, the Blob. And he's like, yeah, he left right after he killed you. And she's like, no one killed me. And he's like, I can't do this anymore, Laura. She's like, can't do what? He's like, I want to break up. To be continued.
Aww.
Can't face his girlfriend getting killed
Okay. But she doesn't get killed. She heals. That's the whole point of dating a Wolverine.
I know, but I guess he can't deal with the fact of just watching her get burned or beaten and chopped up every issue, so. But it was good. Thumbs up.
Very good. Okay, moving right along. Let's check out Hercules, number 4. Really loved this issue. Really, really, really loved this issue. I'm actually going to say it's my pick of the week. I really, really liked it. So anyway, Herc comes home after his adventure with the centaurs in the park, gets the note from Gilgamesh saying, yo, someone called about a storm rising, went to go be a hero like he said, and he's like, oi, this guy's going to get himself killed, and sure enough, there's Gilgamesh getting himself killed. From, as you may recall from last issue, Ire, a goddess of the Stone Age, has her basically rock goblins, henchmen. They have Gilgamesh tied up, and they're basically saying there is this ancient ritual that we can perform. If we use the blood of a hero, we can wipe away the rising storm. The new gods who do not care for whatever. New gods of the corrupted modern age, as we say. And Gilgamesh comes, interrupts and Gilgamesh basically says, okay, I'm the hero. My job is to die so that others may live. I'm cool with this. If you're going to kill me, can we at least make it quick? And she's like, nope, we got to flay the skin off your bones. She says, of course. Hercules does find them because they use Tennyson, the Bloodhound, which was Tiresias's bloodhound, to go track down Gilgamesh using his hoodie, so you can track his scent. Also important is Angela was sent to not Angela. Sophia was sent to go sit with Tiresias to make sure he's okay. Hercules starts beating up all the rock goblins, and Ire says, "Well, that's just fine. Two heroes will quit. Will make the thing more powerful. Basically, they fight, and then who should show up? The Rising Storm, and they have the messenger of the Rising Storm of the New Gods. His name is." And of course, he has this very annoying to old people like me millennial way of speaking. He says, says, "We want Hercules dead. Ops working on that, and that dude too. Gilgamesh. WTF? Sounds like he was in Godzilla or something. JSYK. Anywho, can't let this right happen. Not even for the lulz. Sorry. End of. It might actually possibly set us back a smidge." And he says, "I'm Cryptomnesia, messenger of the storm, god of tech, shiz like that. This is catastrophia. Catastrophobia. There we go. How are we branding you again?" It says, "God of War." God of War. Okay. Snappy. Liking that. But it's broader, actually. War, violence, hate, all pretty NSFW. Anyway, TLDR, all this not happening. Natch, no right, no ritual. We're here to stop you. Boo-hoo you. Meanwhile, at Tiresias' hospital, Horror Scope is there, and she is apparently the goddess of body image, I guess. I don't know, because she's like half naked, but she's got all these like plastic surgery drawings on her body, like, where you would cut to do a tuck here and there, yada yada. So, or maybe she's the goddess of superficial beauty. I'm not sure. They don't really give her name, but she's here to kill Tiresias. And then who walks in but Sophia? Interrupts it, and Horror Scope has to leave, and Tiresias says, "You saved my life," and he says, Hercules, he's facing the storm. He says, "You're the storm, are you? You?" He says, "You're what everyone's afraid of?" He says, "You don't look like much to me." Eric says, "Why is he goading them? They are the uprising storm. Is he a fool?" Says, "He's Hercules. He'll, be planning something. We'll be really impressed," says Gilgamesh. Says, "Facepalm, Catastrophe, do your thing." Big explosion. Arf wine, says Tennyson. Just a great book. I mean, I'm liking the Rising Storm. Loving Cryptomnesia. He seems awesome. Weird that like all the gods seem white, although Catastrophobia is actually gray, so I don't know if they're going to give an ethnicity to him, but do all the gods have to be white? Come on. But aside from that, pretty cool. Great book. Like I said, my pick of the week, I really loved this book. It was awesome. Huge thumbs up for me. What's your next book, my friend?
I'm going to go with Astonishing Ant-Man number 5. And honestly, I have one problem with this issue. I'm kind of seeing your point of view here, but I'll get to that at the end. But anyway,
yes, you mean the stupidification of Scott Lang?
Yes, exactly. It just for so long too, and it's
and it's like he wasn't stupid in any of his other books. It's like no prior characterization of Scott Lang was like this. Not even the movie Scott Lang is this much of a dillweed and a schmendrick, and a not intelligent one. He's actually supposed to be super smart. He's like the one guy to figure out exactly how pin particles work. And then here's like, I don't know what's going on. Don't get me started.
Let me get into this. It's just it starts with Janet Van Dyne. He's talking to her on the communicator, and she's just like, how could you give a rookie the Giant Man suit? And he's like, well, it worked out for me, but she was like, yeah, but he trashed the Golden Gate Bridge when he got stuck in it. And then he was like, yeah, but he was chasing a supervillain. She's like, yeah, some nobody who stole $50,000 off a money truck. The bridge repairs are going to cost $5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then, Scott's thinking about how his whole, everything's a mess in his life, Cassie and Darla.
And not for nothing, just as a statement here, when he got the Ant-Man suit, it was after he had stolen it, after he had used it, after he had proved himself heroic.
Yes.
He's like, you're a random guy, have giant powers, cause reasons,
Well, and then he's like, then he goes and trains the new guy. They basically shrink down, and they're like basically training on a Lego San Francisco. So
yeah, okay,
yeah,
might have been smart the first time, but sure.
Yeah, and then they try to crash a demonstration that Power Broker's putting on for the Henchap, but they can't get in. But then a new feature of the Henchap, people can sign up to become supervillains because they face a brand new female version of Blacklash.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you this right now, Phil. You're just enabling them.
Yeah, I
drop
might
it
have.
on the list, man. It doesn't have to come back next month. And it's like, Marvel, we love you, but just because you put characters we like in the book, if the book's not good, we're not going to read it.
Yeah, I might have to drop this like you did, because at the end, basically Scott's telling the new guy Raz, or what's his name, Raz.
Raz.
Raz, and he tells him, he's like, he takes him back to Hank Pym's laboratory, and he's like, here, you help me figure out where all the stuff is, because they show through flashbacks like Scott doesn't know like how to work any of the equipment. I'm like, wait, isn't that the one thing Scott should know, is how to work all the equipment?
Well, it's supposed to be very advanced, but like I said, they've decided that Scott is dumb now.
I know.
They've decided that rather than being a brilliant electrical, a guy with they basically changed him from Wallowitz to Penny on the Big Bang Theory. Wallowitz, he may look like the dumb guy next to Sheldon, but let's be honest, everyone looks like the dumb guy next to Sheldon, and Wallowitz is, an MIT trained engineer. And that's what Scott Lang is supposed to be. He's an engineer. He is a guy who builds things and knows things and is smart.
Yeah,
but it's funnier if he's a dumb guy, I guess. I don't know. They basically made him a redneck superhero.
But it's just how. It's like he worked with Tony Stark. He worked with the Fantastic Four. It's just, I don't know, but...
Yeah, you're going to tell me anything in Hank Pym's lab is more advanced than the stuff that he worked with from Reed's lab?
Yeah. And
it's not a good depiction of Ant-Man, of Scott Lang as Ant-Man. It's basically, it's like this would be Ant-Man if it was, what was the other guy? O'Grady. This is like, they took O'Grady and made him Scott Lang, and it's like, this isn't how you do this character,
Yeah. But wait, let me get to the last.
And the thing is, it wasn't that long ago that they had a really good Ant-Man in Future Foundation. When they did when Alred, and I forget who wrote that book, but when they were doing that book, it was a really good one, and they really hit all the things that were good about Ant-Man. And then they did this one, and it's like, because basically they wanted a way to... what it is somebody wanted to tell a story about a screw-up superhero.
Yeah. And
they gave him and Ant-Man was the book he could do, rather than him wanting to do a book about Ant-Man. That's what it is. He wanted to do... I don't know who.
But I didn't even get to the best part. The last page, Roz is asking him, he says, "Oh, aren't you worried about this Henchap where, everyone's going to sign up to be supervillains?" And Scott's like, "Oh, who would be crazy enough to sign up to be a supervillain?" Well, on the last page, we see who'd be crazy enough, filling out the online form. First name Cassie, last name Lang.
Why does she want to be a supervillain? She's a superhero.
I guess to trash her dad. I don't.
She's a young freaking Avenger.
Yeah, I know, because even on the next issue, the last page they show the next issue, it looks like her stature, so... that's why I got to give this book a 3/4 up, and that's being generous, so...
Honestly, like I said, I would... Not even reading it, I'm giving it a thumbs down, and it's like I said, stop enabling them, Phil, because you're just encouraging them to make more of these,
I think I have to, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, three. Like I said, 3/4 up. That's generous, but Marvel.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. So let's forget this. What did you read?
Oh, let's go to Hellcat. It's Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat. Still, I'm trying to think how I want to describe this book. Okay. Well, let me start off with this statement that I do love the art style in this book right away. That's like one of the best things about this book. Although it can be a little distracting because even though it's got this sort of campy teen romance art style, it actually has some deeper thoughts going on. We get to meet Ian, Teleki Ian, and Patsy's landlord. And one thing I'm going to say what's kind of weird in the art style is they kind of like the way they draw Teleki Ian or Ian. It like varies a bit, and they kind of over feminize him. I think sometimes when but they do a lot of facial morphing in this book. So I can see why they're doing it because they're making him be kind of all, what's the word? We'll say bidgy. Just have him be like, Patsy Walker, you're this, so they very feminize him when they draw him like that, as opposed to when they draw him in more standard form, and that's a little distracting, I think, because I think that, but it's less distracting when they do it with Patsy, because, for example, whenever they draw her in her costume, she is very, very Hello Kitty looking. Anyway, so everyone finds out they have bed bugs. But Patsy's cat sense is tingling, so she knows that there's something superhuman about these bed bugs. She goes to speak with Dr. Strange. Her and Ian go to Dr. Strange's house. Ian and Wong play chess as Patsy talks to Dr. Strange. He basically says, you need to train with your powers if you want to use them. You have a great potential, but you're not using it. I'm sure this is going to come back later. She says, well, that's great, but I, don't have time for a training montage. He says, fine, I'll give you a quick power upgrade. Gives her like a super magic power upgrade so she can track the spell, realizes that Hunky, son of the landlord, is actually the one who can control the bugs. This is apparently his power, whether it's magical power or whatever. He's like a handsome version of Humbug. Although we don't know if his powers extend beyond bed bugs. They seem to. It seems like he can control bugs with his mind. Cassiolena is basically trying to recruit anyone with powers who wants to be a villain right now. But Patsy basically sets him on the straight and narrow because he doesn't want to be a criminal. And he creates his Ravina Exterminators business bedbug specialist. And he has a very nice jacket made up, and he goes off to remove bedbugs from various hotels. Anyway, he's all flirty with Patsy, but she's like, he summons bedbugs, Tom. I have standards. Talking to her Tubby Tom, her good friend from whatever the city it was she grew up in. Anyway, meanwhile, Hetty calls her up and says, it's your dear friend Hetty. I've got some bad news. Have a minute? And we see that she's got a signed contract. No doubt that gave her all of the rights to all of the Patsy Walker Hellcat comics, or Patsy Walker comics. Anyway, a lot of fun. It's a real fun book. It's a great book to read. It's silly but dramatic, and I can't wait to see them really, when they face Cassiolena, I'm sure it's going to take some real dramatic turns, and I do enjoy that. I'm waiting to see exactly how they characterize Hetty. I'm hoping Hetty is under Cassiolena's spell, because as I've said, Hetty was never this much of a jerk to Patsy. Mm-hmm. So now, little backstory on Patsy: her mother actually made deals with demons and all sorts of stuff. So when you actually find out exactly how awful Patsy's mom was, if for those of you who watched the Jessica Jones and you saw evil Patsy's mom, that wasn't even the half of it when you actually get down to what happened in the Defenders comics. So, yes, good book, thumbs up, 100%. Still loving Hellcat, still on the pull list.
Very good.
What's your next book, Phil?
Spider-Man 2099 number 7.
This tell you not to enable this book too.
I don't know. You might be a little interested in this because there's a lot of Inhuman stuff. Because remember the new Inhuman hatched, and she's all powerful and floaty and glowy, and because she basically points at Lash and just teleports him back where he came from. She said.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and she's calling herself a god, and Miguel's like, "There's no such thing as gods," and she goes, "Thor would likely disagree." He goes, "Okay, fair point."
Yeah. But that actually opens up a whole other can of worms, because if you're going to call yourself a god and Thor's a god and Loki's a god and everybody's a god, it's like, really, how useful is that term then? If everybody's a god, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you're a god. I saw 2 gods coming here this week, come on. Yeah. That don't impress me much.
But yeah, then she basically transports her and Miguel to New York, and she's telling him about how, she would have died on September 11th if she hadn't been late for work that day, and, God wasn't listening that day, and basically her plan is to become God now. Like, she gave herself a new name. Rhonda won't do, so she's calling herself Glory Anna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you're a god, but then, Thor may disagree.
But,
follow with that line of thought there, sweetheart.
Yeah, so then at Parker Industries, her girlfriend Jasmine's there, all worried about her, until Jasmine gets a phone call that her girlfriend's reappeared, and it's what is this? One of the cathedrals in New York.
St. Patrick's, I would assume.
Yes, St. Patrick's. There it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Because Miguel's searching for her through the city. He gets I guess he's searching the internet in his suit. So then basically she's Gloriana's basically just tormenting everyone in the church, saying, you pray to me now, not you, your God doesn't listen, and yeah.
No, it's like, so what this reminds me of? This reminds me of there was this old line they used to run in all the time in the handbook to the Marvel Universe, where they would talk about some low-level supervillain, and they would say, after gaining powers, because they lacked creativity, immediately turned to robbing banks. And this sort of strikes me as that, because this woman lacks creativity, she immediately turned to calling herself a god and terrorizing people. It's like, okay. So, because really, what's her powers? Teleporting things, or does she have other powers too? Does she shoot laser beams, or
she seems powerful? I mean, she seems pretty strong and durable, because like Miguel puts a bomb on her and she gets like back up, and they're fighting, and he's just, at one point he's basically pummeling her, and she's taking it because he's just like, come on, he's like come on, pass out already so I can turn you over to the Inhumans.
Yeah, but like, what's her actual power? I mean, sure, she's strong and fast and all that kind of stuff. Basic,
They really don't say, because they really don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, what it is she's a stronger version of Nightcrawler.
Well, yeah, I mean, she shoots blast, she flies, she teleports.
Oh, okay, so she does fly and teleport, and okay, so she's got some powers then.
Yeah, and then at the end, like, her girlfriend Jasmine shows up, but Gloriana uses, looks like telekinesis or something. She breaks off pieces of the pipe from like the church organ, and she's like gonna try to stab Miguel, but look, she accidentally stabs her girlfriend. So Miguel's like, come on, yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so Miguel's like, yeah, where's Miguel's girlfriend anyway? But anyway, he's like, yeah, you have to get her to the hospital, but Gloriana just like disappears, and Miguel has to get Jasmine to the hospital.
Isn't his girlfriend like a clone or something and being held in a hospital somewhere where she's...
Well, his girlfriend, he thinks she's dead, but yeah, like her mother's or her stepmother has her in the hospital, but I think she was still in a coma. But yeah, we haven't seen her the last couple issues, but I mean, this one was alright. It's a thumbs up.
Okay, no, it's fine. I don't mean to tear it down, man. I haven't read it. I shouldn't tear it down. I just
better than Ant-Man, Charlie.
Yes, and are we all not all giants in the Valley of the Midgets? In the Valley of the Dwarves, are we not all giants? Okay. Moving on to another book that I really enjoyed was Squirrel Girl #5, which has Squirrel Girl and Old Squirrel Girl, where we basically find out what the whole time travel problem has been. Apparently, there's a guy called Cody who goes to school goes to Empire State University in database classes, and he gets a inheritance from some weird ant no one ever heard of, and it's got a little ray gun thing there. So of course he shoots it at a tree. The tree disappears. He goes, "Oh wow, disintegration ray!" And because it is so powerful, he decides only to use it in important circumstances, like when the garbage is full. So he makes the waste paper basket disappear. But then he finds out that, oh goodness, now no one ever remembers that tree there. No one remembers that we had a waste paper basket. And then he goes and looks online at the library and realizes that there's a story about a garbage can falling from the sky, and then pranksters planting trees in the middle of a street, and that's basically it. So we found out that he has this ray gun that sends things back in time to a random point in the 60s. Meanwhile, he has come back in time with Squirrel Girl and, with older Squirrel Girl, who says she had to start calling herself the barely beatable Squirrel Girl, and she's wearing a Dr. Doom outfit because, of course, it was the one time she was beaten was by Dr. Doom in this fight. And apparently now Nancy can speak Squirrel because Tippy Toe tells her a plan and she coordinates everyone getting on with the plan. And that was like this big thing out of the blue, and no one even mentions it yet. Anyway, so what basically happens is old Squirrel Girl is fighting Dr. Doom. They take it out in the street. Old Squirrel Girl is being beaten because she is Old Squirrel Girl, but Squirrel Girl says, "I can take care of this. You've softened him up." They go into the Natural History Museum, where Dr. Doom starts smashing skeletons. Fortunately, they're plaster casts. And they get this plan, which Squirrel Girl communicates to Nancy in ASCII in C++, because Doom doesn't program because he has his own programming language, so he doesn't know C++. And what she does is she has Nancy shoot her back in time, and then she hangs out until she can come back to just that moment to join in the battle, and then she has Nancy send her back in time again and again and again and again until you've got an entire army of Squirrel Girls piling onto Dr. Doom. They basically get Doom to promise to not go back in time, not to mess with the time stream anymore, and to be, not be a jerk about everything. They agree to that. So then they put all the time travel duplicates back into their own place, so there's no paradoxes. Old Squirrel Girl stays in the 1960s, and it turns out she was the niece who sends the ray gun to Cody, so that there's no paradox. And they basically explain that the reason why Nancy could remember Squirrel Girl was that because, unlike the other people, Cody had to send her back from her apartment, and in doing so, included Nancy in the field that let her see that things had changed. Later, we see Dr. Doom back in Latveria in the past, saying he was going to send his Doombots back in time so that he could win that battle, but then Old Squirrel Girl basically smashes all his Doombots, because that's basically how it goes. So it prevents that from prevents paradoxes, and Old Squirrel Girl is in the past fighting Dr. Doom until new Squirrel Girl can catch up. So that is the awesomeness that was Squirrel Girl. Big thumbs up for it. Fun book, great book. Man, we are blowing through these this week. But that's good. We got to be faster. We spend too much time on these things some days, and people have work to get to. Okay. But yes, big thumbs up for Squirrel Girl, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Still unbeatable, because she did beat Dr. Doom.
All right, well, I'll get to my last book on my own. My pick of the week, Daredevil #4.
I've heard good things.
Oh, yeah. This might be my favorite one of this series so far. But it starts off with Daredevil beating up some thugs in an apartment building, and because he's talking to somebody over like a communicator or something. Someone who asks him, "Oh, all good up there?" And he's like, "Yeah, all good. I'm moving on." And we see it's Red Hook, Brooklyn, and he's talking to someone on the street. It's Steve Rogers.
Ah, good old Steve. Old Steve? Yeah, it's probably still old Steve.
Oh yeah, it's still old Steve because he said he's like, yeah, the super soldier serum doesn't work on him anymore. He's like 90 years old, but his voice still can command the god or me.
Yeah.
But I guess he was saying Steve, still watches out for his old neighborhood. So Matt called him to talk to him about something, and I guess Steve asked him to clear out the building, and because I guess there's a gang in this building who are building like bombs and selling it to anyone who has the right money.
Mm-hmm.
Because Matt's thinking to himself, he called Steve for advice because he thought 10 Fingers would be an easy, first enemy for the new Daredevil, but it really wasn't, because they go to a flashback. Well, remember last issue, 10 Fingers showed up at Matt's office, and basically the long and short of it is 10 Fingers is telling Matt, I'm like he's basically calling himself a god, and he's going to use the powers he stole from the hand.
Another god.
Yeah, another god. I know. Yeah, but he's going to help the people of Chinatown and everything, and basically tells Matt, he's like, "Well, I'm a god, and if you're opposing me, what does that make you?"
A devil.
Ah.
Yeah. See.
So back to the present, back to Red Hook. Matt's still tearing through more guys, and Steve's like, "I hear you picked up a sidekick," and Matt's like, "How?" And he's like, "Oh, Spider-Man saw you training him on a rooftop," and Matt's like, "I'm surprised it's not in the Bugle." Since Spider-Man told you.
I love it when they talk shop.
Yeah, but so Steve's asking him about Blind Spot. He's like, "What's his name?" He's like, "Blind Spot." He's like, "He's a good kid. He's smart. He built himself an invisibility suit. Runs on D cells that you get at the bodega." And Steve's like, "Good. We need more smart kids." He's like, "Some of us are getting old." And Matt's like, "Yeah, he's on Twitter. Says he has 50,000 followers." And Steve's like, "Twitter, not really my thing."
Yeah, some of us are getting old, but not for long.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking the whole time I was reading this. But And Steve's asking me, he's like, "Why did you take on a sidekick? You never been like the sidekick guy." He's like, "Well, when I started out as Daredevil, I stuck to helping one neighborhood, mine, Hell's Kitchen." He's like, "He's doing the same for his Chinatown. I like that." And he's an undocumented immigrant. He's trying to help the community, people who feel like they can't go to the cops when they need help.
Mm-hmm.
So
does Steve make any comment about, kind of odd that your sidekick's named Blind Spot, since
well, no, because that's the other thing. Matt's feeling bad because Steve asked him, "Do you know his real name?" And he says no. And then Steve's like, "Okay, well, not everyone can be open about their identity." He's like, he's like, "I don't know your actual name." And Matt's thinking, "You used to." Yeah, because whatever he did, Steve doesn't remember now. So.
Oh, maybe he made a deal with the devil.
But
he's a devil, and he is opposing a god. We got like 6 of them in this month.
Yeah, but then they go to China. They show Chinatown, the Church of the Sheltering Hands. A young guy named Sam goes in the church looking for his mother, but his mother's making out with 10 Fingers.
Oh my!
Yeah, but back in Red Hook, Matt finds the apartment with the bomb in it. There's a bomb ticking down, and Steve's like, "How much time is left?" And of course, Matt can't see the counter, so he's like, "I don't know." Back at the church, Sam's talking to his mom, and I guess 10 Fingers must have shared his power with this woman because she has 8 fingers on each hand.
Yeah. Well, there you go, man. But I guess superhumanity is a sexually transmitted disease.
But so she's all like, 10 Fingers is going to help our people, and he's great for all of us. And Sam's like, "What about Blind Spot?" And she's like, "What, Blind Spot? He works with Daredevil. He's our enemy." And she's like, 10 Fingers will take care of him. And she goes, "I hope he asked me to do it." And he says, "You want to fight Blind Spot, Mom? Well, here I am." And he turns on his invisibility suit.
I saw that coming.
Yeah, yep. But so back at the apartment, Steve's like, "Stay calm. Tell me about the detonator." And Matt's like, "It's a big brick with 2 knobs and some curling wires." And Steve's like, "Okay, that's a BC-18, old Soviet hardware." He's like, "I can talk you through defusing it." He goes, "You're looking for a green wire and a red wire." And Matt's like thinking, "Damn, he doesn't know I'm blind." So he leaps out the window. Then we see Sam's mom looking for him, but she can't find him because of the blind spot suit. But back at the apartment, the bomb makers are about to take off in a helicopter, but Matt snags at least one of them, and he grabs them and drags him back down to the apartment and tells him, "Turn it off!" So he has the guy defuse the bomb for him. Then at the end, Steve's thanking Matt for helping him, and Steve's like, "Why did you call me in the first place? What did you need?" And Matt's thinking, "Tell me that you made him forget that you're Matt Murdock, him and everyone else. Confess, see if he'll absolve you." And he's asking Steve, he's like, I just need reassurance. He's like, "All the choices you made, all the things you gave up, the things you lost, even the people you may have hurt along the way, it wasn't worth it." And Steve's like, "I don't know the answer to that. Not for you. I live my life, you live yours." Here's his advice. If you can look in the mirror every day and see yourself, and if you can't see yourself looking back, then you might have a problem. So
yeah.
And then the last page ends with at back of the church with Sam and his mom, but some demon-looking guy like enters. I guess I don't know if it's another person from the hand. So.
Uh-oh.
But I really like the stuff with Steve and Matt. Like I said, this is my pick of the week. It's a big thumbs up.
Very good. Okay. So let's round off with all new, all different Avengers. How do I feel about this book? You know what? Here's the thing. There's a lot I love about it. And so I gotta say it is a thumbs up. But, it just opens up with where we left off in the last time, which is, nobody seems to think, hey, maybe the Vision isn't being honest. And, of course, that winds up being our big reveal here. Well, I kind of get the feeling that what they're doing with the all-new, all-different Avengers is they're setting up these younger heroes to kind of be the heroes of the book,
Yeah.
And I wonder if we're going to be keeping Iron Man and Cap and Thor around for too much longer. I'm wondering if they're going to get replaced by other younger heroes after they've sort of established this. Maybe because anyway. So opening up,
maybe they quit after Standoff.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if we're going to get like maybe we'll get Boulder in here. Come on, Boulder. My hero, my favorite superhero. Maybe he'll get in here. Anyway, so what we find out is, of course, that that Griffin is in fact Kang, which we learned last week or last month, and he says that he's basically he basically cannot travel through time, but he can still send other things through time. So he keeps on sending. So basically he sent these equinoxes back through time repeatedly. So they have, they have all this knowledge and gave them their power upgrades. And the equinoxes are basically taking out the Avengers. And of course, then Vision does his big heel turn, taking out Ultimate Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Nova and Kamala are at the bus stop talking. Nova's like, I know you protect your secret identity, but I still know it's you. They get into a conversation, but they realize that, after Kamala basically, after Nova realizes that, the Vision, basically Nova comes clean to Kamala, and they realize that the other Avengers are probably in trouble, so they go to help. We get the reveal that basically Kang in Avengers number 0, which I didn't get, was manipulated by Kang, and he goes to get the hammer, because even though he can't lift it, he can siphon off its time travel energy. Meanwhile, in the future, where there's all these equinoxes that have sort of destroyed the city, Sam and Jane Foster are there. She's turned back into her cancer-ridden self because she does not have the hammer. Sam protects her from the equinoxes, and they say, I know where we can get the hammer. And then the Avengers pile on Vision to try and take him out. Nova keeps Kang from being able to access the hammer. Meanwhile, in the future, Jane Foster gets her hammer back, although there's drama there. Although there is a great little scene here where basically everything's going on, and then Miles Morales gets this idea and says, "Oh, hail Kang, honor the dynasty," and then webs up Kamala and Nova. And I'm like, what the? And then he goes, you're the present-day Equinox, and slugs him, which makes all the other Equinoxes disappear because, of course, he was the one who didn't react because he had already seen. Well, he was the one who hadn't seen his heel face turn previously, so all the others who had seen it all disappear. So he takes them out, and then Kang does not have his bad guys. Then Vision tries to take out Tony, only to realize that Tony had planned for this, and sort of reboots Vision. And then Thor and Cap come back. Battle. And kind of a cool scene here where Kang is using his time travel powers, and we see like basically alternate versions of everybody, sort of their past images. You have Iron Man in his Mark I armor, and Miles Morales turning back into just a kid, and it's actually kind of cool because you have like Falcon in his old costume, yada yada. Anyway, then Vision basically battles Kang for a bit, and then Thor takes her future hammer and her past hammer and smashes them together to make this massive temporal paradox, which sends Kang into a little void thingy, although it is not over, he says. And then, sort of in the aftermath, Vision feels shame over what had happened and basically leaves the group. And again, this is where I'm saying I wonder if our second generation heroes are going to be moving on. Although, maybe you keep Thor and Cap, but we'll see. I have some adult supervision after all. But Vision is gone, and then we see that Sam and Jane are, because now they know each other's secrets, and they're kind of being together and maybe get a little relationship. Yay! And thumbs up on it. Like I said, I really like the book. It's a bit weird with the like I said, the whole reaction from last issue still kind of taints it, but in general, I really liked it. Temporal paradoxes and all things aside, and I am still very interested to see where Avengers is going.
Yeah, I really like this, especially the Cap and Thor stuff, and the temporal thing with the two hammers. But yeah, now that you say that, I think Tony's gonna have 2 Iron Man books, so he can kind of go over there. But I think that would be a cool idea if it was just the kids and kind of with Sam and Jane playing mom and dad to this team of kid Avengers. That
would be awesome, actually. A nice little Avengers family.
But yeah, big thumbs up on this.
Okay, great. And that's all of our books. Yay, a short episode.
Under an hour, people. You're gonna feel
You can thank us later.
All right. So we can get out of here.
Yes.
But share your thoughts on these books, or I know there's books we don't get because there's so many Marvel books. If you want to send us reviews of books we don't hit, please feel free. We'll read them on the podcast. Get it out to the world. Email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. On Facebook, we're All New Marvel Roundup. On Twitter, we are at Marvel_Roundup. And like I said last week, we have a new Instagram account that we're sharing with my other comic book review, World's Finest. So that is World's Finest Roundup. And so, yeah, I do Marvel and DC. So you can talk anything Marvel and DC with me. My personal email is nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. Instagram, I'm nightwingpdp. But you can find all of my creative endeavors, quick one-stop shopping, where I work with such talents as Charlie Esser and Lilith Hellfire and many more. philparich.wordpress.com is where you can find all that. And Charlie, where can they find you?
Well, as always, you can tweet along with me for Peggy Carter, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Legends of Tomorrow, or Supergirl, or sometimes Flash, at Charlie Esser on Twitter. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And, of course, you can always write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com.
All right. Is that it then?
I believe that is all the news that's fit to print.
All right. Come back next week, everyone. It's a little bit. I think I get 2 more books. This week I had 5. I think next week I have 7. So
yeah, I've got a very short week unless I decide to let Deadpool back into the fold. There's a couple books that got dropped. Uncanny Avengers. Oh, that was the thing I was saying, man. Uncanny Avengers. I read the preview, not feeling it.
Yeah, but is this? Yeah, but would you get it just because isn't it like a standoff tie-in?
What? Oh, I don't know. Well, no, I think it's actually a filler book. It's kind of looks like it's kind of set up as kind of a joke book. It's a Deadpool-centric book, but,
okay.
Yeah, and, yeah, so basically in the preview, you find out that, like, the Wrecker is being released from prison for reasons, and they give him back his crowbar. And the guard says, I don't even know why we're giving this back to you. It's like,
Jeez.
It's like, yeah, why do they give that back to him? Shouldn't that, like, be at Project Pegasus or something? And so it's like, sometimes there's a little lazy writing. And maybe they're doing it to have a little comedy and put some noses on stuff with Deadpool. But it's like, I don't know. But we'll see. Maybe I'm going to do a browse in the store and go, ooh. Because remember, I dropped Uncanny Avengers last week because they were late. And you get late, you wind up getting dropped unless you got something really good to keep me there.
Yeah.
This is not the one to bring me back on so far.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, let's get out of here.
Okay.
Like we said, check out Super Connectivity later in the week, and then come back next week. Avengers Standoff comes out, and Charlie Esser and I are both going to have standoffs of sorts in our local comic shops to see which books we're going to pick up. So tune in and find out which ones. Good night.
Good night.